So this is an additional tutorial to a previous one where I've created this parallax effect using a stock photo from Photoshop, breaking it into segments, taking it to After Effects, turn them into 3D layers, adding a camera and creating some movement. So this is quite a simple one. It's got the different frames here, and if I do hit my C for camera tool, you can see I can rotate this around. And also if I go to my view options here, active camera, I can go to something like custom view, and you can sort of see how this is all laid out. So that is in the previous tutorial. This one here, we're going to look at adding some additional effects, so things like smoke and debris and particles, and also adding a little bit of movement to our image as well. So I'm going to set this back to active camera as we begin. Alright, so I do have some assets here that I have selected here. I've got some very gory blood mist, we've got some very strange bullets dropping, or I've also got this sniper rifle. So I'm just looking for something with a green screen thing, and different footage that you're going to find for using for assets. Check online. There's a few that you might be able to get for free. Some of them you may need to purchase, but essentially what I tend to look for is something with a very defined background. So this one here, it's got a black background that suits that asset. So cloud and smoke and dust is typically going to have a black background like this one, because that's easy for us to remove the background. Blood mist, which is going to be darker in color, white background, so that's great as well. And then of course the good old blue screen and green screen, which we can use things like Keylight and After Effects to get rid of. So the principle on this is actually really quite simple. I'm going to show you some techniques for cleaning this up. So I'm going to grab this dust charge here, and I'm going to just drag it into my project here. So I've got the project window, there it is there, and I'm going to drop it into my animation. So there it is there. It is a video layer, so it's going to animate accordingly. So what you may want to do is actually change the time when this activates in your animation. So that's always a good thing to do. Don't forget, if you do need to adjust the time on this, you can time remap it. So you can also go right click time, you can reverse time reverse layer, so you can actually get it going backwards if you needed to, which is kind of weird for a lot of things. But that could be useful. I'm going to undo that, of course. And you've got time remapping, and you've also got time stretch. So if I wanted to, I could actually stretch by a factor, and it's going to give me the new duration down here. Or you could slow or speed this up. So if I change my speed down to 2 seconds instead of about 9 seconds, it's going to go a lot quicker. Pop and land. So be aware of that if you do need to get out your timing and all of that kind of stuff done. Now this one here is already pre-keyed out, so if you are fortunate for that, you can see it. I don't actually need to do anything to key that out. So this is where your purchasable assets will sometimes come into play, but that's kind of good to see that. So I'm going to bring in a couple of extra assets for this as well, and let's have a look at the blood mist one. So I'm going to bring that in as well. Let's put into our composition. And some of these I'm not actually intending to use, but it's good to see how they work. I'm going to scale this up a little bit, so I'm going to grab the corners here with my move tool as I'm dragging out. I'm of course going to hold down shift so it doesn't distort, and I'm going to move it around. Now I can't see through this. It's got a white background. I'm going to move it to where there's a lot of action happening over here, and I want to be able to see through the white here. So a couple of things you could potentially look at doing. One is trying to key this out. Now this can be really messy, so if you do go into effects and keying, you've got quite a few options here, but if you go into linear color key and bring your color picker and select white, you can actually see that we can actually start keying this out, and you might be able to get it, but it's going to be really hard to do. As soon as you get like fine particles and mist, trying to get those edges to work really well is super difficult. So let's look at a really good don't want to call it a hack, but it's a hell of a lot easier than trying to key stuff out. So I'm going to delete that effect right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look down over here, and I want to access my adjustment layers. Now, at the moment, I don't have the adjustment layers up, but if you go down to your options panel down the bottom here and go to extend or collapse the transfer controls pane, it will bring this up. It'll bring up mode, and this will give us our blend mode. And what I've done here is I've changed the blend mode to multiply. And typically what multiply is going to do is it's going to remove the lighter areas of your image and just keep the darker ones. And you can see, because that's such a white background, we now have that pretty much keyed out really well. If it's not working all that well, you may want to do something like adjusting the levels or curves of the image. So you can do that. You can either go to your effects preset and type in levels. And I've misspelt it, so let's not focus on my spelling. Instead, I'm going to click out of there, click back in, and go effect, color correction, and if you have a look down here, there are your levels here. I'm just going to expand this panel out a little bit, and I'm going to change the blend mode back to normal for now, just to give you an idea what's going on. So here's my slider for this. Most of this is white, but what you can see is I can actually make this darker or lighter by changing this, and this is ultimately also going to affect my blend mode. So let's turn that blend mode back on, multiply it from normal to multiply, and as you can see, as I slide through this, it is going to affect that more or less. And if I start playing with that white, it's not really going to work so well. So if you do have an image that's slightly grey or those edges, this is a great technique for just really refining in where the white point begins, and you can adjust it there. So that's pretty good. Also, you may wish to change the color of something, in which case you might want to try something like effect, color correction, and you could try something like tint or tritone. And tint, you can map the black to a particular color. So let's go a little bit crazy with this one and make it maybe like a dark green. And let's map the white. We're probably going to have to keep that white, otherwise we're going to end up with a something that's not completely transparent background. So that's a possibility. There's a few other ways of doing this, but you can add just a simple tint to something. Now it's sort of, it's not blood, so yeah, we don't get that R rating on their film. I'm going to delete the tint, however, but that's a really quick way of doing something with a white background. All right, next one. I'm going to bring in something with a black background, and this is going to be some fog. So I'm just going to switch back to project here, and I've got this lovely fog video. Ooh, very nice. And I'm going to bring this into my composition as well. So there it is there. At the moment, this is a little bit too small, so obviously what you can do is grab the corners and scale out, or you can hit S on your keyboard and scale like that. Of course, as you are scaling stuff, even if it's something as simple as fog, it's not non-specific shape, try not to stretch it. There's just something about stretching an image, whether it's an element like fog or fire or something like that, that's just going to make it look weird. So hold down that shift key as you're expanding out and see if you can get that to fit. The other way of getting this to fit, of course, that everyone should know, is to right click, go to transform, and either fit to comp or fit to comp width or fit to comp height. Now, depending on the aspect ratio of your assets, you may not want to stretch that, so just hit control fit to comp width, for example. This happens to fit, so there it is there. Now I can't see through it. I've got a layer right at the top here, and there it is there. I may want to slow that down. It's pretty fast, but I'm just going to leave it as is for now. Alright, so I'm doing a quick zoom in, zoom out for everyone. Alright, so the blend mode for this one. So there we are in the blend mode for normal, and if I hit multiply, it is going to get rid of the light areas. So it's actually giving me a reasonable effect. It's kind of darkened everything out, because as we saw with that blood, it's going to get rid of the light areas. However, realistically, I don't want to get rid of the light areas. I actually want to get rid of the dark areas, because it's the the white wispy fog that I want to see. So the best blend mode for this is usually one called screen, and if I click on that, you can actually see I'm going to get, that fog appearing through there as it wisps through like that. Try some of different blend modes. You're going to get some really weird effects, but again, the go-to for this is typically screen. It's going to give you a pretty good result. Now, if this is too overwhelming, obviously you can lower the transparency of this. So go T for opacity, and you could lower that down. The other thing you could do is play around with the just go to effect, color correction, and bring up either the levels or curves if you know how to use curves, and you can also punch in how much that fog is actually being viewed, and if you need to check, just send it back to normal, and you can see I've just switched that from being slight to being a little bit more harsh, so it's going to be more focused on the white and less the black. So there it is there. We've got some interesting fog coming through. And play around with the positioning of it. So, if you right click, transform, you've got some options of flipping it horizontally and vertically, and that might suit your composition a little bit more. Cool. Another thing you might also want to consider this is masking this out. So I'm actually going to turn off these levels because it's going to show this a little bit more extremely. And what you could do is basically, look, I want to see more of the sky or something like that. So all you need to do for that is grab the pen tool, and you could basically just click around and create a simple or even complex mask if you need to. But I'm going to keep this relatively simple, and I'm going to create a mask like that. Now, once you've actually created a mask, if you don't want to see these, unsightly lines and handles, you can press this little button here. It says toggle mask and shape mask visibility. You can also hit Control Shift and H as a shortcut for that, and that will hide your guide, so that way you can see your image a little bit better. Of course, you can bring that back. So I've got a mask on there. I'm going to hit M for mask, or go to the drop down here, and I'm going to hit M again, MM, and I'm going to feather that mask. So it's going to create a nice little blur on that, and it's just going to help me separate where my mask is being viewed or not. So this is still showing up the top here. If I want, I can set that to subtract, and it's actually going to do it the other way around. So it's going to hide the area outside of the area selected, if that makes any sense. So that's all really fun. I'm going to actually turn my levels back on. I think that's going to kind of look good. So that's the way it's going to fade out. So I've got a little fog there. Now, at the moment, the fog is not a 3D layer, so it's actually not interacting with the camera at all. It's just fit on top of the screen here. So you may actually want this to interact, and also if you get your camera moving past or going further into a scene, you may wish to have multiple layers of fog. So I'm going to kind of do that and sort of show you how to manage this a little bit. So I'm going to hit that 3D button. It's going to turn that fog off. It may actually offset a little bit, because remember, that is, now we're looking through a camera. It is its own sort of entity. So I'm going to turn my little controls back on there. So a really nice way of looking at this is to actually switch to two views. So especially if you've got the screen real estate, switch to two views, and I'm going to grab to my move tool. So in one view, you can go to choose what you're looking through, like active camera, which is good to know because that's what you're currently using. And then in the second view, you can select on in here, and you can switch that to something like custom view 1 or custom view 2, and you can also start moving that around as well, so you can kind of see what's going on. So there's my camera all the way over here, and you can see all my layers stacked up over here. And then what I can do is grab that fog layer and grab the move tool for that, and I can actually start maybe moving this forwards like so. So now I've got a layer of fog really quite close to my scene, and then I can still keep creating more fog. So in this case, I'm just going to duplicate that. I'm going to grab one of the layers there, and in this second layer of fog, I'm going to move that maybe behind that previous layer there, and I'm going to scale it up because it is way too small, so S for scale, and just got to scale up in the right direction. Now I've flipped mine so my scaling is reversed, so what I might do for this one is right click transform, and I'm going to flip it horizontally again, so it's actually going to be the opposite direction of the fog. So it's scaled up, but if you do have a look in here, I'm going to hit C for camera. Remember, C will activate your orbit, pan, dolly, and rotation tools for your camera. And am clicked in this custom view too, where I'm not selected on the camera, so I'm not moving the camera per se, I'm just moving the view in there. So there's my fog layer. You can see it's kind of stacked up through there, and you just kind of need to double check that, you know, as your camera moves, that is going to stay in view like that. Alright, the other thing to remember is as you start doing this stuff, in the previous tutorial I mentioned making sure that in a lot of cases, making sure that your objects always face towards the camera. And it's not for all things, sometimes it won't act that well, but basically what you can do is select your layer, right click, go to transform, and auto orient, towards camera. So that way, no matter how the camera turns, the flat card layer that we've got here is always going to be facing that camera. So auto orient towards camera. Be cautious of layers that kind of you know, overlap as they turn. They might intersect each other, so having the second view here, you can sort of scrub through and see your camera move. But you know, as that camera, if it passes through that fog, it's going to get, you know, you're going to still see the other fog happening in there like that. So there we go, we've got that. I'm going to do another image now, just so as a reminder for those of you who need to know. I'm going to drop in, this one's a bit weird, but I was kind of just trying to find a quick green one. I might use this guy, and again, it's not necessarily in context, but you know, it's for a demo. So I'm going to bring this into my composition. I should be cleaning this up, but it's fine. And I'm going to bring him in here. Alright, perfect. I'm going to switch this back to one view again, and let's zoom in a little bit to that. Grab my move tool again and zoom in. So he's got a green screen on him here. Do get to know how to use green screen if you can, but basically I'm going to do a super quick key light green screen key removal on this. I'm going to grab my pen tool and I'm going to just check the movements on this, because I want to try and get a garbage mat, as it's called, to try and just select around, do a really quick selection of that, and I've created a shape. Whoops. So remember, if you are going to be adding a mask, you need to have the layer selected. So I didn't have the layer selected at that point, so I created a shape, not a mask. So I've created just a garbage mat here, and I'm just going to run through it quickly to make sure that the movements stay within that. And it's getting a bit close at the top of his head there, so I'm just going to move that out a little bit and just make sure that it's not accidentally cutting stuff off. Awesome. So now what I'm going to do is key this. So I'm just going to go to Effect and Keying and choose Key Light. It's going to come up here. Screen color, I'm going to grab my color picker and bring that in here. Once again, it's going to be a matter of running through your balances and stuff like that, and also check through your all of your settings, clip back, clip white, all the rest of it. So I need quite a bit of adjustment on this. I'm just clipping the black and white a little bit here, and always also check when your view files, instead of final result, head to combined map. So this is going to show us any gray areas are going to be semi-transparent. So typically I don't want to see that. It probably needs a bit better work on his hair to get, you know, a little bit of detail in that. But for me, that's fine at the moment, and I'm going to switch that back to final result. Before I start moving this guy into position, I'm hitting the 3D marker there. And what I need to do to make sure this interacts correctly is to right click on this and transform and auto orient towards camera, because as the rest of the images are orienting towards the camera, this one needs to as well in order for it to interact correctly. And yet for some unknown reason this one is not. There we go. Alright, so I've just tucked him in layer order, which seems to be working, getting that layer order correct, and I can tuck him in behind the other layers. Awesome. So see for camera and moving that around, and you can see there he is, he's tucked in behind now. And then we go to the actual camera. Now I want to make sure I don't move this camera here, because this one here is my active camera and it already has some keyframes as far as position in there. So unless you want to redo that, that's what you're going to get. So cool. So there he is there. And my composition isn't really making sense at the moment, but hey, that's all fun. Other things, if you're going to be introducing new new characters and objects and stuff like that, just try and get them to match color wise and lighting wise. That's really going to stand up. This is obviously just really doesn't stand out too well, but you can kind of see how that's coming together. All right, I'm actually going to delete that one because it just doesn't work with my vibe. All right, other things we can potentially do is we can animate particular aspects of a scene. So I've got this layer that I've called Dude, which is my character here. And what I could do is I could potentially animate this person. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I've got the puppet position pin tool in here, and I can go through and click and actually place in some puppet pins for that. And puppet pin tool allows you to actually warp and distort the character. Now this one's not probably the best one to animate, but you can get a little bit of movement if needed be. So I'm just going to hit my effects control, and if you want to go to mesh refinement and animate that, I'm just going to move his head a little bit. It's probably going to look a little bit weird. I might add another pin just to try and stabilize it a little bit. And that's probably not working so well because it's added the pin afterwards. And it could just be, sometimes it's just that slight movement that you could use. And if you've got something with arms, for example, you could really animate this out, but this is going to break pretty quickly. So adding puppet pin into stuff that needs movement is another really interesting way of getting stuff to have a little bit of extra movement into your effect. Alright, here's another one. So I've got a few effects happening now: particles, explosions, fires, dust, all that kind of stuff. Let's look at some that are built into After Effects. So I'm going to switch this back to single view once again, active camera, and I'm going to go to layer new and create a new adjustment layer. And if you want, you can rename this elements or something. So I'm going to click on there and just type in, hit the enter key and go elements. And I'm going to use this. So the great thing about using an adjustment layer is you can add a bunch of effects and they're going to affect everything below that layer. So After Effects actually has some preset stuff. So it's got stuff like rain, for example. And if you go see there, we've got simulation, CC rainfall. So you can actually go into your effects panel, or if you know what you're looking for, and you can go effect, simulation, and we've got drizzle. Awesome. Mr. Mercury is a freak show. We've got particle systems, which need a little bit of help for us to get them to work. And we've got rainfall, and we've got snowfall, and a few other weird and wonderful things here. So I could basically, let's try snowfall, for example, and hit that space bar. You are going to see some snow effects, but you may need to actually do things like adjust the size and the number of flakes. I'm going to really ramp up the size for this one because it is a demo. There's that snowfall. Now, as you start adding these things, they can slow down your processor. So that little green line is going to tell us how far that is taking to animate. And some of them have stuff like adjusting the depth in the scene as well, and also wind and speed variations and all that kind of stuff. So there is some inbuilt presets for that. They're worth playing around with. The other one as well. So if you go effects simulation, we've got some rainfall, so you can have some snow and some rain if you wanted. But you know, you can get some nice, some pretty cool stuff here. Out of the box, one more for this one is we've got, where is it? I think it's under generate, and we've got actually I can't remember where it is, so I'm going to just type in the effects preset and lightning. Do be careful with this one. So there it is, generated advanced lighting. It was under generated. This will allow you to actually create lightning effects. They can be super tacky, so be careful. Out of the box, it will turn your adjustment layer black. What you'll need to do is press the composite on original button down the bottom here, and there's a few different types in here, like two-way strike, for example, is going to allow you to have a beginning point and an end point, and of course you can animate all of the stuff. So if you wanted to, you could kind of have this going from one point to the next and moving, and of course you could change a bunch of other presets in that as you go. So stuff like the core color, and of course the glow settings as well, and everything else in between. So you can actually do some pretty fun and furious things with this. So I'm doing all of this on a single adjustment layer. Of course, you can do as many adjustment layers as you want. They can contain multiple elements, and we can turn this into a 3D layer. But just watch what happens when I do that. You can see, hopefully, you can see this, that is pertained to the size of that layer. So if need be, you may need to position and scale this appropriately, and don't forget to right click, transform, auto orient towards camera if the other layers are there, and don't forget you can also move these behind other layers as well, so you could potentially have multiple layers of rain if need be, or anything else that you need to do. And as I said, this is way over the top, and of course this is being generated as I go, so this is going to potentially slow down your system. But here's a few effects and how to apply them that could be worth looking at. All right, we'll catch you on the next one.